Welcome back to episode 13, spine number 13 of Chasing Labels. I'm Stephen Billings, and with me always is the other guy. I know this isn't the movie Blank Man, but his name's Andrew Cabral. How you doing, man?
Doing good. Yes, this is unlucky number 13 or lucky number 13, depending on who you are, depending on how suspicious you are about things like that.
Well, I can tell you right now, my wife is. My wife's suspicious about that.
Really?
Okay, let me tell you something right now. So we finally decided to get the COVID shots, and part of it's because of my work. They are offering like a health. It's for our health insurance and stuff like that. So I got my first shot today. Now, initially, we were going to get our first shots yesterday, and the second shot would have landed on Friday the 13th. And she was like, look.
Not the best omen.
Wait, so she was like, look, I'm glad we're doing it tomorrow now, and it won't land on the 13th because I don't feel good about that second shot. But so now we're good. It'll be August 14th when it lands.
Good. I'm glad you got it. Glad you got it together. How's that arm feeling?
So far, it's a little sore. She's actually upstairs aching with the soreness. So
yeah, mine ached for about 2 days.
Okay.
Both times.
Well, I'll let her know.
That's a given.
Well, okay, let's get off. This has nothing to do with movies.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
Although they're probably going to make movies about COVID and all that stuff very, very soon.
Probably.
If not already.
Probably, yeah. But on episode 13, we have a special guest with us. He is a graphic designer. He does like alternate poster work. If you're into the boutique labels, he might have done some of the artwork. He might have done some of the booklet layouts. He might have done some of that stuff. His name is Scott Saslow. How you doing, man?
I'm doing okay. How are you?
Great, man. We are excited to have you on. This is the first time we've had somebody in your field come on the show. So everybody's going to be compared to you from then on. That we bring on. So.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Sorry. No pressure. No. But so I guess let's start out just talking about how you got into this whole business of graphic design and working in boutique labels and things like that.
Well, I'll try to give you the short version.
Yeah, you can make it as long as short as you want, man.
Well, I went to. I'd always been into movies, even as a kid. You know how movies were made, movie making, etc.
Yeah.
I went to film school, a small school in Orlando called Full Sail.
Oh, dude, I got information from Full Sail. I was going to go there too, but then I was like, that price tag's too high.
Well, somehow we made it work, and it's grown by
good.
leaps and bounds since then. We still shot on film.
Yeah.
That was 2003, 2004. Lived out here in LA for about a year and a half afterwards. Worked as a PA and studio file clerk, etc. And ended up going back to Florida. It's a long story, but I kind of realized the filmmaking dream is not what I thought it was.
Yeah.
And I spent most of my 20s really just temping and, a bunch of go-nowhere office jobs. And finally I was about to turn 30 and realized, crap, I can't be an office temp forever. I need to go back to school. And graphic design was always sort of the other thing I was into. You said you were almost going to go to Full Sail. I almost studied graphic design first.
Yeah.
So sometimes our first impulse tends to be the correct one.
Yeah.
And towards the end of school, that's when I started listening to the podcast The Poster Boys with Sam Smith and Brandon Schaefer, and started finding, discovering other designers and their work, because I'm not a painter, I'm not an illustrator, but I started seeing other work like, oh, I think I could do that. And I guess the goal was always sort of to combine the two interests. I got a job. So this is 2015. I got a job right out of school, which I quit 6 months later. And I went back into retail. And then I read about a designer, Pete Majorek. I'm still not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Hey, look, if you listen to this show, I mispronounce names all the time, so you're going to fit in with me.
But this guy, Pete, super talented Australian designer, and he was doing one alternative movie poster a day for a year as a personal exercise. So I thought I could do that. So I did. I did one movie poster a day for a year. Eventually I moved back out here. So this is fall of 2016.
Yeah.
And the daily poster project got me an internship at one of the big entertainment ad agencies out here. That was 3 months. And then it ended, and I've been freelancing ever since. And every so often I would email, Arrow, Criterion, etc.
Yeah.
And then finally, one of my emails to Arrow just sort of landed in the inbox of the right person. I guess they had a designer who didn't work out for a specific project. That turned out to be the film noir box set they did.
Yeah, yes.
But it was the daily posters that I did on my own that really, I guess, separated me from everyone else. And they said, oh, we like this. Can you do something like this? And it's been a blast ever since. And I've worked on, God, I don't even know how, maybe a couple dozen releases by now, maybe even more. I've even had a couple months to myself when they were still doing separate Academy releases.
Yeah.
And so that's the really short version of it. Part of it's luck, and then part of it's just self-generated projects, too.
Oh, yeah, man. Yeah, I mean, I can tell you right now, I love a lot of the stuff that you've done, man. You mentioned the 4-film noir set. It's great. Andrew, you were talking about how you kind of wish you'd have gotten this one.
Yeah, I've been looking at that set for a while for my own personal collection, and I've always loved the minimalistic design on it and just the design on it in general. So that's a direct connection to our guest, Scott. And yeah, it's a really cool looking set. And all those movies are all kind of quintessential noirs that are in there. And yeah, I've always been looking at that. Also, Scott, you've also dabbled in kind of web designing your own alternate movie posters as well, which I have to say, many, if not all of your work looks a lot better than some of the stuff you see from the actual official studios.
Yeah.
And we were just going over a pre-show before we started talking to you, and it's like, I wish that was the movie poster for this specific movie.
Dude,
for that specific
the Mank
movie.
poster? That Mank poster is amazing. I love that Mank poster.
The Mank poster looks fantastic. Portrait of a Lady on Fire is just beautifully done. Moonlight looks amazing. Just that shade of purple is so unique just for that aesthetic.
Yeah, Marriage Story is interesting too. I like that. It's like a coloring book of a couple, and it's like, that's interesting perspective there.
Is that kind of just like a side hobby for you, or is that just how did that come about?
Well, as far as the posters, I guess towards the end of school, I was really one of the only students in my class who did anything pop culture related. I think one other girl in the class did. I wasn't necessarily interested in working at a big design agency doing corporate stuff. Of course, if one hired me, I'd be, I'm sure I would. I'd be happy to do so.
Yeah.
But I actually did a couple for our graduation, our big exhibition at school, sort of the big last thing that we did before graduation. I designed a couple of my own alternative Blu-rays. This is, a few years before getting to do it for real. And I just thought, I want to do this. I don't know how I'll get there. I just want to do this. And again, I've always been into movies anyway. So yeah, wanted to combine the two. And after I saw what Pete was doing with his posters, one a day, so they're not going to be super fancy or intricate.
Yeah.
But there's enough there, and it's really a good lesson in how do you encapsulate a story into just one iconic image.
Yeah, I was going to say, what's your creative process in choosing, like, how you want to, quantify the movie in one image? Like, how do you go about do you watch the movies beforehand and kind of like,
in the case of the daily project, I think my rule at the time was only movies I've seen.
Yeah.
But at the same time, unlike studio marketing departments, I don't have to really cater to, it's just mine. I could throw in inside jokes. I could make posters that only fans would understand.
Yeah.
I don't have to worry about a mass audience or anything. And, but like now, a bunch of us designers do posters for all the Best Picture nominees.
Yeah.
And very rarely have I seen even half of them. I just have to sort of give it my best shot. I look at the trailer, I read about them. Ultimately you do the best you can. And of course I'm extra careful so I don't, accidentally do a poster that maybe has some sort of spoiler on it. I err on the side of caution. In the case of Marriage Story, though, I'm glad you mentioned that one. On the Poster Boys podcast, they always talked about a designer named Bob Gill, and he did a poster for a play called Total Abandon, which was basically a coloring book page that was scribbled in.
Yeah.
So I found that someone uploaded a bunch of Barbie coloring book pages on Flickr, printed it out, broke out the Crayolas, went to town, tacked it on my wall, and just thought that says so much with so little, which is always sort of my goal.
It really hits into the poster, that particular one, it hits into the theme of the movie more than it does just trying to show off the stars of the movie, which is what I care about.
It really hits home.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the movie is about divorce.
Yeah.
And ultimately, the main victims of divorce tend to be children. And since it looks like a coloring book from a child just kind of learning how to color for the first time. I don't know if you were a good colorer when you were a kid, but I was terrible. So that looks very similar to what I would have done as like a 2 or 3 year old.
Yeah.
I went to preschool when I was real little, and there was an instruction we had to color in something, but we could only color in one direction, and I colored in two, and they're like I have a distinct memory of this, and they're yelling at me like, I'm just a little kid, so I colored in two directions. Who cares? But can't believe I even remember that. We could cut that out later.
No,
but
that's important.
Yeah, it's a character building block,
yes,
as they say.
But yeah.
I was just saying, just for your background in movies in general, always being a big movie fan, like you said, did it start early on in your life? Like, did you go to the theater or cinema frequently as a child? Stephen and I grew up in the VHS era, so those were always around and in our consciousness as kids. Was that kind of your background as well?
It was, but I mean, I'm in my late 30s. Our parents would take us to the movies. Mom was a little strict when it came to, certain things. I remember it was a big deal that I got to see Jurassic Park in the theater since it was my first PG-13. I was 10, big deal. But oddly, we had a lot of movies on taped from TV, whether it was network or HBO or whatever, but we actually did not have a lot of movies that we bought. Like I'd go to a friend's house and they have, all the Disney movies on a shelf and, the big Star Wars box set, whatever. I think my parents, it was like, oh, it's going to be on TV anyway, and just tape it off of TV. I'm actually kind of now wishing I still had some of those tapes. And then later on when I started buying, I think it took a while for them to, it's like, why would you buy a movie? They always knew I was into it and understood it, but it was like, why would you want to buy a movie? It's going to be on TV anyway, save the money.
They don't understand that it's, like a lot of times it's cropped wrong. It's there's a lot of things that go into it, but yeah, I mean, my parents started a huge collection of VHSs and.
Yeah, I was the same way. It was a combination of movie theater going, Blockbuster rentals and stuff like that, and VHS tape buying. Oddly enough, you say that today about your parents questioning why would you want to buy a movie? Like back then, people, and now it's come full circle, people are questioning it now. In the streaming and digital age, people are asking those same questions once again of why would you buy a movie when you can just watch it on your television or laptop or tablet or whatever. It's kind of interesting how history is cyclical like that.
I mean, I would be perfectly happy if home video just became a niche thing, and maybe each release would cost a few more bucks, but it would still be there.
It seems like the more studios get away from physical media releases, honestly, the better for the boutique labels because they're more willing to offer up licenses for some of their broader, appealed movies and things like that. And if Warner Brothers doesn't want to put out anything anymore, give it to Criterion, give it to whoever, it's fine with me because they care more. But one thing I have to ask you about, because I noticed this looking at your information online. Tell us about this NASA test subject thing that I'm seeing.
I knew you were going to mention that.
Of course.
So, again, long story short, I think in 2008, I read an article, or early 2009, I read an article online on Gizmodo, the tech blog, about, and every now and then you still see this story sometimes, get paid to lay in bed, get paid to work for NASA, whatever. And I read the article. It was a lay in bed for 30 days straight. And the idea is, in order to, I used to have this memorized, in order to observe the physiological effects of long-term spaceflight, the closest analog to that on Earth is extended bed rest. And there was a phone number at the end of the article. I called the number. There was an email for me the next day about everything I had to do and all the rules and, no back pain, no neck pain, this and that. And I had to go in for a few physicals. Which I clearly passed. I don't know if I would today. Flew to Houston a couple times. Had to do a couple of screenings with them, a psych screening. I passed. And I was at one of my temp jobs, and they just called out of the blue. And one day, I think in October of 2009, and they said, okay, you start next week. So I had to give my boss a really quick notice. Flew to Houston, and then it was all at a hospital, University of Texas Medical Bay in Galveston, and it was 2 months total, 2 weeks at the start, 2 at the end, and then the 4 weeks in the middle, you're in bed, and there's exercises and shots and all sorts of things. They sort of get a baseline, and then you're in bed. And I remember sort of like that line in Arrested Development, I think I've made a huge mistake. As soon as I got in bed. But, just the way our minds work, it's like, okay, 30 days. Before you know it, a few days are in, and then 5. And then after 5 days, 7 days, that's 1 week. So I'm a quarter of the way there. And before you know it, it's 10 days, and you're a third of the way there, and so on. And then get up. I remember the day the bed rest portion ended, and they sort of rolled me onto another bed that could sort of rotate up, like Frankenstein's monster or something. And I just remember feeling like I was sinking because there was no blood left in my feet. You're actually in bed at a negative 10-degree angle, so your feet are above your head.
Okay.
And it was in a hospital, so most of the food was okay. Some of it was not okay. You had to drink a certain allotment of water every day, so sometimes it would be 5 minutes before lights out, and I still had half a pitcher of water I had to drink. It was lights out at 10, lights up at 6, no naps, no caffeine, no sugar. I'll spare you the bathroom details. Showering horizontally was a challenge, though.
Oh, wow.
They wheel you onto another gurney. They wheel you into a shower room as big as my bedroom, and, your head's against the wall, so the faucet and everything is, above you, and, it's on a hose and everything. And, showering and getting dressed horizontally, not easy. And there were 4 other guys there, 2 to a room, and since I was the odd one out, I got lucky and had a room to myself.
Okay.
And there was a common area, so you'd walk in and you'd see 5 guys on 5 hospital beds all playing, Uno or Battleship or something. Or one guy brought his Xbox. I brought books to read in my iPod, and everyone had a laptop. And if you had Netflix or whatever, you were more than welcome. People could have visitors if they wanted to. Everyone was super nice. And I remember flying back to Florida. Yeah, it was New Year's Eve, December 31st, and all I wanted was a slice of pizza and a Coke. And so folks took me out for pizza, thankfully. And I just remember at my 10-year high school reunion, a couple years later, people were like, "You did what?" Usually followed by, "Oh, of course you would do that."
Yeah.
So,
Well,
that's
an interesting story, man. It's one of them things where it feels like it needs a movie. A little bit.
I would love to do it. I just, I'm not a great writer. I've taken classes. I've done sketch writing at Second City. But I could never quite settle on, you could do it as a horror movie. You could do it as like a hard sci-fi movie. But I'd probably want to do it more of like a Spielberg 80s. Yeah. Like my template is almost something like Joe Dante's Inner Space.
Okay.
Sort of like a sci-fi comedy, and
I was going to say,
good guys
I think something in the more comedy realm might work for this story. Yeah. But awesome, man. I mean, is there anything else about yourself that would you like to bring up, or are you ready to get into some releases?
No, that's about the gist of it.
Anything new you're working on?
As a matter of fact, I am. I'm sure it'll be 2 new titles for Arrow that I'm sure will be announced soon.
Oh, okay. You can't tell us yet. Damn.
Yeah, but I never know what they're working on until...
Yeah.
If I'm not working on it, I don't know until it's announced. I just got my copy of the 4K True Romance today.
Okay.
I didn't work on it, but I also had no idea they were working on it, at least until they sent out, the postcard.
Yeah. Awesome, man.
So yeah.
Well, I guess let's get into releases then. Let's do our our normal show. Scott's gonna join us on our normal show here, and usually we start with our old friends in Kino. You want to start us off, Andrew?
Ooh, we're starting off with Kino. Yes, our old friends had a bit of a slow week this week. Because we did hit quite a few titles the last time, so we're keeping up with them better, or maybe they're just slowing down with their release schedule.
They got to take a break every once in a while.
Either way, it's working for us and hopefully working for them. But first up here is a film called Among the Living, which stars Susan Hayward is a name that pops into my head when viewing it, and there's no release date for it yet. There's no we have Scott here. There's no cover art for the release. All we have is the movie poster, or the original movie poster. And for me, Susan Hayward is an actress I know specifically from her movie I Want to Live, which I believe she may have been nominated for an Oscar for that film. So I know her from that. And next up is a film called The Victim, which we do have cover art for. And it looks like it's coming with a slipcover, which a lot of Kino's releases are coming with now. And this is interesting because it's starring Elizabeth Montgomery, who probably people mostly know as the lead character of the sitcom Bewitched.
Oh, yeah.
Which I believe aired in the 60s. That is Elizabeth Montgomery. So I just kind of shocked to see her out of that role because I'm so used to her being in that role. And this looks like a horror film, a straight-up horror film from 1972. And this is coming out on both a Blu-ray and DVD, and this is coming with a new 2K master, as well as some special features and audio commentaries, and newly commissioned art as well. So moving on from there, we have another re-release, and this time I guess the license has changed hands. This is Rob Reiner's Misery from 1990. Of course, this is the Stephen King adaptation. Stephen and I did a whole episode back on Cinema Discovery Project, our first iteration of this podcast, of all of the Stephen King adaptations that we had seen at the time, plus all the ones we hadn't seen. And Misery was, I think, one of our favorites.
I would definitely, it's up there.
I think it's one of the best. It really is one of the best. And this is coming with a 2-disc edition, first one being the UHD 4K disc, the second being a Blu-ray disc. And this is carrying over most of the special features from the Scream Factory release from Shout Factory a few years ago, but there are 2 main things missing. One is a brand new interview from 2017 with director Rob Reiner, and the second is a brand new interview from 2017 with Greg Nicotero, the great makeup designer whose work I'm pretty sure everybody has seen. He's a producer on the Walking Dead series, which is still going on. Plus, he does the makeup work for that and all kinds of stuff. Great artist in and of himself. And then last here is some more pre-code goodness with a movie called The Cheat, starring Tallulah Bankhead. And I believe all of these are October titles. Yes, Misery is October 12th, and The Cheat is also just says October. Yet again, one of those where no extras, no cover art has been unleashed on us yet. But I like pre-code cinema, so I would love to get my hands on this. And plus, I don't think I've seen much Tallulah Bankhead in general, so that's kind of cool. Steven, any of these looking interesting your way? I'm really surprised about the Misery 4K re-release, personally.
Well, yeah, Misery is a good film. Scott, you seen any of the before me? Scott, you go ahead. Do you anything stands out with you?
Well, it's funny with the Cheat. I mean, I've worked on my share of pre-code silent films for Kino, and it's cool just seeing the original artwork here. I don't know if I'm going to get this one to work on or not since I was recently on vacation, but
yeah,
it's always cool just to play with those assets and some of the artwork. The ones I've worked on, you get this artwork and it's like, we have to use this. It's beautiful. Yeah. They don't do posters like this anymore.
They don't.
And it's amazing the material. For as much that's missing from that era, the stuff that actually does still survive, even these movies. And as far as Misery, I have to confess I still have not seen Misery, but I am excited just to see Kino continuing with 4K releases and reissues at that.
Definitely. I noticed with with The Cheat. It's directed by George Abbott, and I haven't seen many of his films, but I have seen one of his films, Damn Yankees. He directed Damn Yankees. And so that's kind of a popular musical. So other than that, I mean, I am interested in The Victim because of what you said with Elizabeth Montgomery, and I used to love watching Bewitched, so it'd be interesting to watch her in a more dramatic role. But other than that, yeah, I mean, Misery's great. I mean, I might pick it up. I already kind of have it on Blu-ray. Don't know if I need to buy it again, but
yeah, and this may also be another TV movie from that era, because I know they released 2 TV movies in our previous episode we talked about. I'm just going based on what the aspect ratio is. It's 1:3:3 to 1, which would lead me to believe that it was a TV movie. And this tagline here is kind of getting me. The phone is not the only thing that's dead in Susan's house. What a tagline. That's all you need to know. That's all you need to know. And I think this was, I want to say, who was the director on this? Oh, it's veteran television director Herschel Doherty, who directed apparently Alfred Hitchcock Presents and Star Trek the original series.
Oh, okay.
Both things from that are very interesting.
All right. Well, you want to let's move on over a couple. One little thing from a smaller label. I'd brought up before in a previous episode how much I love the movie Open Range, and now suddenly after I brought it up, it's now getting it's finally getting another release through 101 Films, which they're a smaller label that you don't see a lot of releases from. I have their release of Existence from David Cronenberg. But it doesn't have any specs on it yet, but I really love the movie Open Range. Scott, have you seen Open Range?
No, I haven't.
No, it's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great Western starring Kevin Costner and Robert
It's always
Duvall.
been on my radar.
Yeah, Andrew hasn't seen it either, so
No, I haven't.
Yeah,
I was just telling Steven.
But it's
my modern day Kevin Costner movie viewing is lacking. Directed by him as well.
Yes.
Because I know he got into directing in the 90s, if memory serves.
Yeah, Dances with Wolves.
Didn't he direct Wyatt Earp as well? I think that may have been him.
I think so, yeah.
Or was that Lawrence Kasdan?
You know what? You're right. It is
okay.
Lawrence Kasdan.
Yeah.
It is.
It is Lawrence Kasdan.
Yes. He's only directed a few movies, I think, in his career. He is very selective with what he does. He might even direct some of the stuff he does now in the show he does. What's the show he's doing right now?
Oh, that
Yellowstone.
coincidence.
Yellowstone, yeah.
Yes.
He probably directs some
Paramount.
of that right now, I'm assuming.
I do have his IMDb up, so I'm going to look at it. He does have 3 directing credits: Dancing with Wolves, The Postman,
Yeah.
and Open Range. That's it.
That's it, yeah.
That's it, but he is a producer on his Yellowstone series.
Okay.
And, of course, he was a producer on Hatfields and McCoys, that miniseries
Yeah.
as well. And, of course, he's mostly known as an actor.
Yeah. It's a great Western. That's a little bit underseen, I think. There's a great shootout scene at the end of that movie, but it's basically about these 2 ranchers that get pressured by local law enforcement to take their ranch or something like that. It's really good. Diego Luna's in it also.
Yeah, great cast.
Yeah.
Diego Luna, Robert Duvall is in it, Michael Gambon, Annette Bening. Yeah, it's quite a cast.
Yeah. But I'm just glad to see that hopefully when specs come out, it'll say that it's gotten maybe a new restoration or I don't know if it's going to have any, deluxe packaging or anything like that, but
yeah, I have no idea.
We'll see.
All I can tell you is that I don't think it's available anyplace else.
There might have been some.
No, that's not true.
Yeah, I was going to say it's got other releases, but it's been a while since it's had a release.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, some of these releases are from 2010, 2009. And so it has no release here in the U.S., but a couple overseas.
So technically,
but
it
not
still
for
hasn't even
over a
gotten its
decade.
U.S. release here yet. So,
Yeah,
maybe Aquino will put it out. They put out everything.
could be.
But
Does seem in their wheelhouse.
yeah, it is. Because I don't see it being an Arrow release or even a Criterion release. All right. Well, we'll move on from that. And let's see here. My internet's being funky.
Oh no.
Warner Archive. You wanna? We don't have any specs on them.
Let me take this one. Yeah. Just because I got things to say.
Oh man. Get ready, Scott. Scott, he might get upset here in a second.
Stephen, reel me in if you need to. But so we've documented a lot of the Warner Archive problems over the last several months, pretty much since we started this podcast, and they continue to keep on getting worse. I would say. The only reason we're going to be talking about these releases is because I just randomly found that these pre-orders popped up on Amazon. There's been no press release. There's been no social media announcement. There's been nothing. So they're just kind of letting these releases kind of drop into the wind coming out of nowhere. And it was just kind of sad. Like, for any company, small, big, medium-sized, if you don't have even the smallest social media presence at all, you've just given up on your product, I would say. That's what it seems to me when it comes to Warner Brothers and Warner Archive. But we do have two releases that have dropped out of the wind, and one being Shadow of the Thin Man, and the other one being The Good Old Summertime. Now, Shadow of the Thin Man is important to us and many collectors out there as well, because they've released the first 3 movies in the Thin Man series, and now we are getting the 4th, so hopefully we'll get the last 2 as well. That's what I'm holding out hope for before everything goes completely kaput in Warner Archive land. But The Good Old Summertime is a film I'm not quite familiar with, and which is a shame, because it would be nice to get some more info on this release. Even on the Shadow of the Thin Man release would be nice to get some info on it as well. I'm assuming we're just going to get the same solid transfer we've been getting from these releases. And
well, the Good Old Summertime, it's a musical with Judy Garland.
Directed by Robert Z. Leonard, who directed quite a few films back in the day.
Also, Buster Keaton's in the film, which is cool.
Yes. So Robert Z. Leonard directed The Great Ziegfeld, The Divorcee, Peacock Alley. He's directed a lot of. He has 162 credits. So, and these are all feature films. Like, there's not a lot of shorts in here. He does have uncredited work in the 30s, but yeah, lots of stuff here. I've heard his name before on many things like The Ziegfeld Girl and a lot of stuff like that. But you are right, Stephen. Judy Garland is in it. Van Johnson, Ezzy Zakali's in it. You said Buster Keaton, and this has to be this is 1949. This is much after Buster Keaton's star kind of dwindled, and he's, not, unfortunately, he wasn't relevant at the time. But yeah, that's really cool to see Buster Keaton in something past that silent era. And of course, I don't know if I have to say it, but Shadow of a Thin Man is the 4th film, and I believe it's the last film directed by the original director of the Thin Man series, of course, starring William Powell and Myrna Loy. And this film also has Donna Reed in it as well, who is a favorite actress of mine. And this is the last film in the series directed by W.S. Van Dyke. The other 2 films were directed by other actors. So the Thin Man series, as it goes along, kind of wanes a little bit in quality, but I still think it's pretty solid. If anybody's interested in because usually as series goes along, the films get worse and worse.
Yeah.
Does it ever really quite fall apart? Not really. Myrna Loy and William Powell are still absolute standouts. And of course with the dog as well.
Yeah. Scott, anything to add or?
No, not really. I've seen the original Thin Man a few times, and it's a delight.
Yeah, I love him. William Powell's just a great actor. I love him.
Yeah.
You ever see what's the one that came out through Criterion recently? Where he's the butler. What's it?
Oh, My Man Godfrey.
Oh, My Man.
Yes.
God, I love that movie.
That's gonna be a great movie.
Yeah.
Gregory LaCava, I believe, is the director of that movie.
But I've only ever seen the Thin Man sequels, I think, like once years ago. So they all sort of blend together for me. I'd have to see them again.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. Well, that's it for our Warner Archive slate there. And now I guess let's get into the big guns.
Yes, the two ones we waited all week for, Steven.
Yeah, they
always do this to us.
Yeah, they always come out on the
it.
same day. It seems
it's
like.
always a Friday.
Yeah.
It's always a Friday or a Thursday, and we record on Saturday nights. So it's when these drop, it's crunch time.
Yeah.
To get into them.
You want to go through Criterion, or you want me to do it?
You want to save that for last, and you want to go with Indicator
I'm
first?
sorry.
Let's go with Indicator first.
Yeah, let's do. I'll do Indicator. Okay. Bad tease.
I know. I guess we save the best for last, and I don't want to say that just to put anybody down. Just in terms of, I would say, quality of releases for this month.
Yeah.
I guess I would say that. I'm not comparing the companies.
Sure. No, of course not, because Indicator is fantastic. So Indicator Powerhouse, they released their slate for October. And as I like to call it, I've been advertising this when I've posted about it. This is what I'd like to call Dad Movie Month. It's 4 releases that all kind of fall into, I would say, films that your dad might want to watch. Usually war films,
or granddad,
or
great uncle, or uncle, or maybe women will even love it as well.
Oh,
I think
sure.
I think these movies are really for everyone, but they do hit a certain niche of people specifically.
Yeah.
And starting off right away, Stephen, with Hellfighters starring John Wayne. Stephen, take it away.
Yeah. Hellfire with John Wayne. It's all these releases are supposed to come out October 18th. It's got a high definition remaster, an original 6-track stereo presented in 5.1 surround sound. You got optional stereo audio. You got an audio commentary with film historian Michael F. Blake, C. Courtney Joyner, and Constantine Noir from 2021. You got a BFI interview with Andrew V. McLaglen, 1999. Archival audio recording of the director and a conversation with David Lewin at the National Film Theater. We have Ton Vincent and Andrew V. McLachlan, 2021, career-spanning appraisal by the film archivist. We have a newsreel footage of red deer fighting blazes in the Sahara and the North Sea. We have a Super 8 version of the original cut-down home cinema presentation. We got the original theatrical trailer, image gallery with promotional and publicity materials, new and improved English subtitles for the deaf and hard of hearing, limited edition exclusive booklet with new essays by Andrew Neat, archival articles on the film and the events that inspired it, and an overview of critical responses and film credits. This is a UK premiere on the Blu-ray, and it's limited to 3,000 copies, and it's Region B locked. Scott, have you seen Hellfire? Hellfighters.
No, I haven't. But love to see Indicator, even though they're all Region B exclusive. Love seeing them digging into the Universal vault. That's for sure.
Oh yeah. Have you done any work have you been able to do any work for Indicator yet?
I would love to. I think of all their titles, they might have done one with new artwork, but they tend to use, like, these are all original key art, which I love. So part of me, it's like, just keep doing that.
Yeah.
But if they come calling, I am at their service.
Oh yeah, definitely. Andrew, Hellfighters.
Yes. Yeah, I have seen Hellfighters. For those of you at home wondering what Hellfighters is about, starring John Wayne, who I don't think needs too big of an introduction. Okay, there's a long story, but I don't like John Wayne as a person because his politics were trash and he was not that great of a guy. I'm more fascinated with his iconic image from cinematic history and just how he was like the personification of stoicism and like masculinity for so long, and for so many people he still is that type of icon. And in this movie, it's different than what I've seen him in before, in the sense that he's usually in westerns, he's usually in war movies, things of that nature. But in this film, he is a firefighter. But of course, he's not a regular firefighter. He is a firefighter who travels all over the world to put out oil fires, like raging oil fires that, like, you know, if people are drilling in, you know, the middle of Africa somewhere, and all of a sudden it catches on fire, his team and his company get called in to put it out. It's not a bad movie. I would say this for all these films. They're not bad. I'll say they're relatively average, above average. This movie in particular it has a subplot that that's interesting to me, not particularly great. Also, Scott was right. These are all Universal releases, and these all have had Blu-ray releases here in the States so far. All either put out by Universal themselves, or put out, or I think this, or put out by Shout Factory for at least one of these releases. And I know Hellfighters had 2 releases, one put out by Universal and one put out by Mill Creek recently too.
Okay.
I think like this year sometime. But yeah, Catherine Ross is in this film as well. She was just in The Graduate a year before this movie came out, so that's where she's coming off of. And I think she's a really good actress. And Jim Hutton, I remember him because I just saw Major Dundee like this week.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't just see it. I just rewatched the Arrow release of Major Dundee because apparently I had seen that movie 5 years ago and I did not remember it at all. Oh, that was
when you watch as many movies
trip.
as we watch, and unfortunately sometimes it gets lost.
I went to my Letterboxd and just to rate it afterward, and I already had a rating on it from 2016. Didn't remember the movie at all while I was watching it. Doesn't really happen to me a lot. But yeah, so that's John Wayne. If you want better John Wayne movies, his work with John Ford is the best way to go. And he actually did team up with Andrew V. McLaglen a lot.
Okay.
As well. He did the movie McClintock. He did the movie Cahill, Chisholm. Wild Geese was another one he did with Andrew V. McLaglen. All in that kind of his late 60s era into the 70s.
Yeah. All right.
That was when he teamed up with McLaglen.
All right, cool.
And this also movie does have Vera Miles, who has a direct connection to Alfred Hitchcock. But that's a whole other story.
We'll just do a whole podcast on that story, okay?
Yeah, we'll do a whole lot. Well, she was in a bunch of Hitchcocks. She was, of course, in Psycho. She was, I believe, on his show as well. And she was also, talk about a John Wayne connection. She was in The Searchers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she was in The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance, my favorite John Ford film. To go back to Hitchcock, she was in The Wrong Man.
Yeah.
Another one of my favorite Hitchcock films, which I've written about. So, yeah, Vera Miles is a pretty prominent actress in her day that I don't think a lot of people remember too well. So, yeah, she's in this movie in a smaller role.
All right. Well, the next film we got in their slate is Midway. Which
yes.
I think actually didn't it get a remake recently?
Yes, it did.
Yeah.
Yes, it did.
I didn't see it.
And I think didn't the remake come out was it last year?
Was it during
or
the
year
pandemic?
before last?
I think it might have came straight to like a streaming or maybe.
No, it came out in 2019.
Okay.
Yeah, it came out in movie's 2 hours and 18 minutes long. Seems a little bit much, but trying to see if I can find the release date for it. So November 8th, 2019 was when the remake of Midway came out.
Gotcha.
This, of course, came out not in
1976. Yeah.
And this film has everyone in it.
Yes.
Everyone.
Yeah, we got Charlton Heston, Henry Fonda, James Coburn, Glenn Ford. It goes on. Teixeira Famunez in there. Robert Mitchum.
Yeah, they had to dub his lines, which kind of sucked.
Yeah.
Go on.
But this is directed by Jack Smith, who did Airport from 1975. So this was a year before that, but a year after that.
He also did the movie Harper, starring
Yes.
Paul Newman back in '66, and he also coincidentally did the movie that we talked about last week, in that 1972? Yeah, The Screaming Woman with Olivia de Havilland that we talked about last week. That's getting put out by Kino.
Yeah.
So it's a back-to-back week with Jack Smite films, of all people.
Yeah. But we got a new high-definition remaster. We got a new original mono 2.1 surround audio tracks. We have audio commentary with film historian Steve Mitchell and Steve J. Rubin from 2021. We have The Guardian interview with Robert Wagner, 1983, an archival audio recording of the film and TV star in conversation with Joan Blackwell in a National Film Theatre in London. We have They Were There, 1976. Charlton Heston presents this archival documentary featuring the interviews with 3 combatants who survived the battle. The Making of Midway from 2001, a documentary short looking at the film's production. Surround the Sounds of Midway, 2001, a look at the film's use of the surround sound audio system. The Score of Midway, 2001, film composer John Williams, which you might know him, discusses his work on the film. Selected scenes from the extended TV version. We have Battle of Midway from 1942, an Oscar-winning documentary directed by John Ford, relaying the battle with the footage shot by Navy cameramen. We got new video essay from film historian Tag Gallagher on John Ford's acclaimed documentary. We have a Super 8 version original cut-down home cinema presentation, original theatrical trailers, TV spots, radio spots, image galleries, promotional materials, new and improved English subtitles for deaf and hard of hearing, limited edition exclusive booklet with new essays from Lee Cypher, Dave Worrell, archival articles on the film and events that inspired it, and an overall critical responses and film credits. Is limited to 3,000 copies, and it's Regent B. Scott, have you seen Midway?
I think we watched it in history class, in
really?
high school. So if I watched it, it was 20 plus years ago.
So you can recount. Yeah. You can recount this whole movie.
Minute by minute. Jack Smite directed Airport 75, which is the one with Charlton Heston, where he has to talk Karen Black as the stewardess to land the plane. Yeah. And that one, more than any of the others, plus 0 Hour, that's the one that really influenced Airplane. I think there's a singing nun and the whole thing, but that's the one he did. If I saw this movie, it was 20 plus years ago.
Yeah. Well, at least you're better than me, because I know Andrew saw it, but I haven't seen this one yet. So
I did see this, and this has. I remember going to Best Buy. This is years ago. I remember going to Best Buy during they were having their Father's Day. Father's Day was coming up, and so they had a whole Father's Day standee set up full of movies to buy your dad for Father's Day. And they had all of the World War II movies from back in the day, and Midway was right there. Yeah. Midway, The Longest Day, all these movies. Coincidentally, most of them starring John Wayne. Yeah. Patton. Yeah. I don't know what it was in the 70s. They were just doing. There was interesting, because we talked about the 70s, we talked about New Hollywood and all that kind of gritty, cool stuff that was going on. But then there was also Midway and stuff like that. And it's there's two things happening here.
I feel like it's like some of the old Hollywood's
we're still holding on.
Yeah, some of the old Hollywood's still trying to vamp up some of the stuff they used to do and bring it into the 70s, but it's But some of it held on fine. I mean, I think some of these movies are good. So
yeah, and you figure when this movie came out in 1976, 30 years after World War II had ended, or a little bit more than 30 years after World War II had ended, a lot of these people who are in this movie were around during that time and were prominent actors in that day. Maybe specifically Henry Fonda. I don't know if Charlton Heston was old enough to be there, but certainly, these actors are prominent. Glenn Ford, Hal Holbrook, who just recently passed away this year. Robert Mitchum's in this movie, and it's a tease because he's in one scene in the movie. One scene. So all you Robert Mitchum fans, don't buy this movie or watch this movie if you're expecting some Robert Mitchum goodness, because he's in one scene.
Yeah.
And then Robert Wagner, of course, was around at the time. Cliff Robertson, who was Uncle Ben in Sam Raimi's Spider-Man film, is in this movie, and it's I've never seen him in any other role other than that. so that's really fascinating. But this movie is all about the Battle of Midway.
Yeah.
All about the Battle of Midway, which was a huge battle in the Pacific during World War II. It was a turning point for that arena of World War II. And that's what's interesting about both this film and MacArthur, is they kind of go hand in hand, because they're both about the Pacific theater of the United States fighting Japan in World War II.
So is this the modern, this is the 70s version of how we got Dunkirk, and what was the Churchill film?
Oh, man. Darkest Hour?
Darkest Hour, both of them movies could be watched back to back, and they're about the same thing.
they kind of overlap with
Yeah.
one another. Yes.
Okay.
They do kind of overlap in terms of time frame with one another. But this is all about Midway, and the movie's 2 hours and 12 minutes, and you feel it. There is a subplot in this movie that is so... It's interesting, but it's also so poorly undeveloped that I was just like, why is
Might
this
as well
here?
just
It has
cut
to-
it. Yeah.
It has to do with Charlton Heston's son, who has fallen in love with a Japanese American woman, and her and her family are of course during that time being put in internment camps here, and in their prisons basically, and there's a whole subplot there, but it's so underdeveloped, but so prominently interesting that I kind of wish they developed it more.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's Charlton Heston. If you're not a fan of Charlton Heston, you're kind of going to be turned off by this movie, and if you are, you kind of want to see it. He's so stern and stoic and just not boring, but he's Charlton Heston. He's yet again another guy a la John Wayne, in this cut from the same mold, in the same vein. Shitty person with shitty politics, but an icon throughout cinema. And this was one of his later films, I would say. It's yet again not a bad movie, but I wouldn't rush out to buy it. I wouldn't rush out to see it either, unless you're a big World War II war movie buff.
Yeah. Anything to add, Scott?
Well, it's again I barely remember seeing it, but a lot of movies back then, the airport movies, and all the big disaster movies. It's one of those movies where they clearly added in deleted scenes for the TV broadcast.
Yes. Yeah.
And this seems to be one of the few. I think they've been included on previous releases. One of the few releases where those scenes are actually included as an extra because, as I said, I grew up taping movies off of TV where they would do that often, especially with comedies that weren't quite 90 minutes, and then you get the DVD and it's like, where's all that extra stuff?
Yeah.
So I'm always happy when that stuff's included.
Yeah, there's one that really pisses me off, and I know this is like this movie has nothing to do with what we're talking about, but
anything.
Ace Ventura. Mm-hmm. The scene from Ace Ventura where he talks to the dolphin, and the reporters show up near the beginning of the movie, and he like talks to the dolphin and does that whole thing pretending he's a dolphin trainer. It's like that's like the TV version, I think, and then like you get the DVD and it cuts that whole scene out. And you're like, what the hell? Like that's like one of my favorite scenes. Like.
It happens every time.
Yeah.
Every time I see a new release, they cut it. I don't know why. I'm pretty sure it was on the VHS.
Yeah, it was.
It was on the VHS tape.
Yeah.
But it's not showed up on the DVDs or the Blu-rays.
I haven't gotten the Blu-ray. I do have the Blu-ray. I just haven't watched it yet.
Oh, it won't be in there. I guarantee it won't be in
Thanks,
there.
Andrew. You've ruined it for me.
Ruined it. But what is also interesting about Midway that Scott said is when it came to showing like the bombing sequences and like the airplanes flying, they used original footage, like real footage that happened, like stock footage from World War II. So they had to like reformat it and recut it to make it fit into their aspect ratio. But you can tell the difference between 1976 footage and war footage from 1942. It really is a big difference there. So it's a little jarring.
Okay.
But moving on
to
Steven, what are we moving on to?
We got MacArthur.
Yes.
MacArthur's
from World War II to World War II.
Yeah, 1977, directed by Joseph Sargent. I'll go through. You go ahead. What's the movie about since you've seen it?
Oh, since I've seen it. So it's basically about Douglas MacArthur. It's a bit of a biopic, but it's one of those biopics where it only covers a certain portion of someone's life.
Yeah.
This is 1942 to 1952 or so.
Okay.
It's in that realm, I believe. So basically, Douglas MacArthur, kind of another big time military man like General Patton. And of course, Patton had come out in 1970, starring George C. Scott, written by Francis Ford Coppola, who won an Oscar for that movie. This movie's trying to be that movie, but it's not quite as well written or as well directed as Patton was. But Gregory Peck is Douglas MacArthur, and he's good in the movie. Gregory Peck loves to talk, just loves to go on, just like super demagogue type, like larger than life monologues in this movie.
Well,
Loves it.
I mean, you get an actor from that era that probably came from stage acting. I'm assuming.
Well, you remember his most prominent role is Atticus Finch
Yeah.
in To Kill a Mockingbird, a very stoic,
Oh, yeah.
powerful role. And so, but Douglas MacArthur himself was like that as well.
Okay.
He was very, he was an egomaniac to say the least, a la George Patton. And the movie really covers, I think, that aspect well. How he was basically gonna do shit his way. No one else could. Like he was going like the president would tell him to do stuff, and he'd be like, "Yeah, we're not doing what he's gonna say." He would go by his own. Beat to his what was that saying?
Beat to his own drum?
March to the beat of his own drum.
Yeah.
And
Sure.
he was super popular with American people. He knew how to market himself as an American hero. When he got kicked out of his post by Truman, he comes back and there's this massive parade of people. They show it in the movie of how beloved he was. So this movie is pretty good, I think, in that regard. But it's not an overall great movie. It covers a lot of ground in 2 hours.
Okay.
Like, we're talking a lot of ground. And in a lot of, if you don't know, like, the details about the Pacific Campaign in World War II, you're going to be lost as to what the heck's going on. What island are we on? Are we in Australia? Are we in Papua New Guinea? Are we in the Philippines? What's going on? But his main thing was that he did a lot of stuff in the Philippines during his military career.
Yeah.
And that's what the movie focuses on a lot.
Okay.
But yet again, it's another one that just got a Blu-ray release here, and it's not a bad movie.
Okay.
But I'm interested in this release when it comes to the special features because Indicator, like we've said, really gathers as much and as new stuff as possible.
Yes, they do. And the director, Joseph Sargent, it says here he directed the Taking of Pelham 123, which
The original.
the original one, yeah, of course. And so that's some good pedigree there. But the features we have a high definition remaster, original stereo audio. We have an optional 5.1 surround audio. We have audio commentary with film historian Steve Mitchell and Stephen J. Rubin, 2 guys with my name, so that's good. We have a selection of newsreels capturing General MacArthur throughout the years from his arrival in Australia in 1942 to his 75th birthday celebration. So that's cool. You have an original theatrical trailer, radio spots, image galleries, promotional and publicity materials, new and improved English subtitles for deaf and hard of hearing, limited edition exclusive book with a new essay by Robert Mazin, archival articles on the film and events that inspired it, and an overall critical response of film credits, and it's limited to 3,000 and region B locked. Anything to add, Scott?
On this one, no, not really.
Okay.
Joseph Sargent, very eclectic career. Love Taking of Pelham 123.
Oh, yeah. What do you think of the artwork on this one? I think it looks pretty cool.
Yeah, it's the original
obviously
artwork.
It's original, yeah. But awesome. Yeah. Andrew got us through that one.
Yeah. This was this was a me type.
Yeah,
of,
I hadn't seen
type
it.
of movie.
Yeah, I got nothing to say about it. But the last one here I have seen.
Okay, this is all Steven.
No, okay.
Because I have not seen it.
All right, whatever. This one's called Gray Lady Down. And it's from 1978, directed by David Green, who is the director of a film that Indicator's putting out, and just actually had a Kino release too, The People Next Door. So I think The People Next Door from Indicator comes out next month, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe it's this month. But this movie also has a huge cast. We got Charlton Heston, David Carradine, Stacy Keach, Ned Beatty, and like you were saying about like the small appearance by an actor, and what was the other movie you said just had a small appearance?
Robert Mitchum in Midway.
Yeah, well, the same thing happens in this movie with Christopher Reeve is in it, and he's like barely in the movie.
Thank you for saying that, because I probably would have watched it. Because
this literally comes out the same, I think the same year as Superman comes out, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, 1978.
So he hadn't hit big yet, but he's in the movie as like one of the officers that you see on like the deck, and he's like barely in the movie. But it was cool to see him there. But Great Lady Down is like a submarine survival kind of movie where this submarine gets attacked in the ocean, and it drops to the bottom, and it's, of course, it then turns into a running time clock kind of movie where if somebody doesn't come and rescue them at some point, then the whole submarine can get crushed by the pressure that they're already like kind of at a very low depth that they're surprised they're survived at. And so they're, trying to get contact and get people out there. And so it's a race against time type of movie. And I really enjoyed it. It kind of gives me some of the feelings of Crimson Tide, which is probably my favorite of that type of genre of submarine films. Charlton Heston plays the captain of the ship. And he's Charlton Heston, as you said, he's very commanding, very stoic. And Stacy Keach plays like the main officer, the main captain that's going to rescue him. He's really good. I just really like running clock movies. It gets that intensity up. I enjoyed it a lot. I'll go through the features real quick. We got a high definition remaster or original mono audio commentary from film historian Peter Tungent from 2021. We have a Guardian interview with Charlton Heston from 1985. Archival audio recording of the great actor in conversation with Quentin Falk at the National Film Theatre in London. We have a new interview with actor Stacy Keach from 2021. We got a new interview with actor Stephen McHady from 2021. We got an original trailer, radio spots, image galleries, all the same stuff we get on all the other ones, limited to 3,000, and Regent B locked. Scott, anything about this movie you know about?
This is actually, of the four, or of the three I haven't seen, this is the one I do want to see since I'm always a sucker for a good submarine movie.
Yeah.
And I didn't know he was in it, just as both a Seinfeld and a Star Trek fan. I don't know if it's Haiti or Hattie, but he shows up in a few Seinfelds as Elaine's shrink that she's dating. Yeah. And he is in one of the best Star Trek episodes ever made, an episode of Deep Space Nine called In the Pale Moonlight. So whenever I see his name, it's like, oh, that guy. It's just one of those character actors who always brings something, to the part.
Yeah, I found this movie to be, it's if anything, entertaining. I wouldn't say it's as good as something like Crimson Tide or something maybe like, Hunt for Red October, but it's definitely, well made, and I think some good performances. Anything to add, Andrew?
Not really, since I haven't seen it, but I do like the cast. Rest in peace, Ned Beatty, of course, who just recently passed away. And yeah, I also really like submarine movies as well. I think of Run Silent, Run Deep with Clark Gable and Burt Lancaster, I believe, are in that movie. And also Das Boot.
Yeah, Das Boot. I was trying to think of that movie and I couldn't think of the name.
Is that that's Wolfgang Petersen, right?
It is, yes. Yeah.
Yeah. For some reason, sometimes I get Wolfgang Petersen and Peter Weir confused one another. Don't ask me why.
No, I'm with you.
I think it's the W's and the P's.
I guess.
One's Wolfgang Petersen, the other one's Peter Weir.
And they were both prominent in the same era, so
around the same time as well. Completely different style directors, though.
Yeah, I would say so.
Completely different style directors. But yeah, this is unfortunately the only one I didn't get to see. It's based on a novel called Event 1000, which is a rather ominous name. But David Green is a director I'm not too familiar with. He directed a lot of looks like a lot of TV movies in the 80s, and he directed actually the first part of the landmark miniseries in Roots back in 1977, which is I think around the same time that he directed this. Yeah, so good for him, because that's a Touchstone miniseries as well.
I'd say the other standout acting in this was David Carradine, because he plays like he kind of plays the odd man out type of dude, where they're not sure how they're going to get, because when the submarine hits they kind of land on like the top of like an underground valley or whatever you want to call it, and like a lot of debris lands on top of like the door that they need to get the sailors off the ship, and so David Carradine has this like prototype thing that he can help get down there, and it has like a claw on it, and and so he plays kind of like the guy that's like the little bit outside of, he doesn't play by everybody's rules. He's like, my guy has to work with me. You can't. Ned Beatty's like his assistant, and he's like, he's got to be the guy that goes down with me. I don't want to work with anybody else, and he kind of sometimes doesn't listen to Stacy Keach, and he was really fun in the movie too. So, awesome. That's it for our indicator releases. As I said, this might not be one. I think I've bought almost every indicator bundle this year. This might be the first one I decide not to buy all of the releases. I haven't decided yet. But I still love Indicator. They can't release everything I like.
Yeah, I know. To be honest, I don't think they can do anything wrong in terms of their releases in the general sense.
Yeah,
because they have I think they built up a relatively great will with consumers and collectors alike.
Awesome. Well, our last slate here is from the big old Criterion collection.
Yes, it is.
And I guess we'll let Andrew, you run through these, and I guess start with the re-releases, if you wouldn't mind. So,
ironically, a good 4 out of 6 of these are re-releases.
We'll start with one of them. Jesus. No,
yeah, let's start at the beginning here with. I was so happy to see this getting a Blu-ray upgrade. And this is Kaneto Shindo's Onibaba. I first heard about this movie from William Friedkin when he did his Criterion Closet video years ago. He talked about Onibaba. He talked about how much he loved that movie. And Kaneto Shindo, for people who don't know, he directed Kuroneko and The Naked Island, which is also in the Criterion collection as well. Kuroneko, I still think, is amazing, and I hate myself for not owning it still. But Onibaba is number 226 in the collection and came out in 1964. And on the Blu-ray, there's going to be a restored high-definition transfer with uncompressed monaural soundtrack. On the DVD, high-definition digital transfer with restored image and sound and enhanced for widescreen television. So basically, anamorphic widescreen.
Yeah.
Audio commentary from 2001 featuring Kaneto Shindo and actors Ki Sato and Jitsuku Yoshimura on the Blu-ray only. Interview from 2003 with Shindo. On-location footage shot by Sato. Trailer. Stills gallery featuring production sketches and promotional art DVD only. That's interesting. Filmmaker statement from writer-director Kaneto Shindo. English subtitle translation, optimal image quality. That RSDL dual layer edition. That's an old Blu-ray. That's an old DVD thing. You can kind of ignore it. Plus an essay by film critic Elena Lazic on the Blu-ray only. A 2001 director's statement by Shindo and version of the Buddhist fable that inspired the film. This movie is pretty damn great.
Yes.
For those of you who've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. Just quickly, basically, there is a mother and daughter-in-law pair, and their husbands have gone off to fight in this war that's going on. It's medieval Japan, so there's always wars going on somewhere. It was a little chaotic back then. And basically, they're killing soldiers who are just wandering into their property, basically. They live in this giant reed grassland, and they're killing these soldiers. They're setting traps for them just to be able to steal their armor and sell it to make money to buy food and stuff. And one day, one appears, and he's wearing this type of outfit that you see on this really great artwork, and he's lost and needs to be let out of the reeds, and instead the woman does what she always does. She leads him to like this trap. He falls in this hole and dies, and she takes his armor and she's going to use it to kind of scare and intimidate her daughter-in-law. But what happens is, I don't think she can take it off now. I think that's what ends up happening.
Well, doesn't the travel? They meet the traveler first, and they say they want to see his face, but he says that he's too beautiful to. Yeah.
It turns out he's like deformed or something.
Oh yeah.
It's a really great possession ghost story, creepy movie in a la like Kuroneko is another ghost story as well. Really, really. Can't wait to get this released. This is one of those months where I just want everything.
Yeah, I'm with you. I saw this movie probably a couple years ago and just really thought it was very atmospheric and gorgeously shot, and just I'm definitely this is a first right off the bat buy. Anything to add, Scott? You seen?
Sadly, no. Actually, of this bunch, I've actually only seen Uncut Gems, but I do have some thoughts on the on another one of these releases when we get there.
Yeah, I just wanted to get your perspective because Criterion typically does a lot of new original artwork for their releases. I just wanted your, I guess, take as an artist, like how do you view this artwork?
I'm a fan. I mean, most of their artwork I like. Very few releases of theirs where it's like, oh, you know, yeah, exactly. Rarely. It does happen,
what were
but
they
rarely.
thinking?
But
yeah, Steven and I are the same way. Generally, when we go over these releases, most of them have great artwork, and then sometimes it's like, I felt like there could be a little bit more effort, not effort, but like some creative take that would have boosted this, added a little more oomph to some of these releases. We talked about it specifically with the Melvin Van Peebles box set release, whereas that cover looks, I've seen all the movies in that set, and it's just an interesting choice for the cover of the Melvin Van Peebles box set, where it looks like almost like a comic book type cover for movies that are very, very different than
we compared
than that
it.
aesthetic.
It somewhat looks like the other box set they did, the John Cassavetes. Remember, we were like, it somewhat seems formatted to be similar to that set. And you said that the movies felt Cassavetes-esque in the way they were shot, so maybe that's why they decided to go that route. Maybe.
I just mean, like, I'm not even like commenting on whoever the artist is that was commissioned to design that box set. Just, it has Melvin Van Peebles on the cover, which is appropriate, but it's him in an almost animated type form, and these movies are not quite in that anime. It doesn't feel like an animated realm.
It was just an interesting style choice that maybe it just didn't feel.
Especially because it was the same month that they we talked about, like, that cover for The Damned, which is like, holy crap, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And the cover for Throwdown is another one that's like, it's amazing. And then Mona Lisa also looks amazing. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, their big set is the Melvin Van Peebles cover. It doesn't quite match up.
Yeah, it
with
doesn't
the
really
others.
fit the popping colors and everything of everything else, or dramatic.
Even Love and Basketball.
Yeah.
Is a wonderfully stylized cover.
And I think the director, you mentioned Love, and I think the director tweeted about that. That was what she wanted the original poster to be.
Yes.
But and then finally she got it. The issue. There have been a couple releases where this applies, where as a designer, you're working with a pre-existing template, and there's one release that Criterion put out specifically where the Criterion Collection bar on the left side covers up part of the title. And it's like, oh, if they'd only made the title just a little bit smaller. But I have the same issues with, sometimes with Arrow, where if there's something in the corner, but it's a British release, and, oh, the rating is going to be there, so I need to move it, or, something like that.
Yeah.
Just
almost like the overlapping layout, which you don't necessarily factor in when you're dealing with what your artwork's going to be. You want it to make it as, full paneled or full framed as possible. Yet then you overlay the stuff, and it's like, oh, that's covering what I spent so much time on.
Yeah.
But moving on from that, moving on to High Sierra, which is a movie I've waited so long to finally come out on Blu-ray. This has been kicking around on DVD for seemingly ever. This is a Raoul Walsh film.
This is not a re-release, Andrew.
No, but it's not. It's I've been waiting. It's been a DVD, like a regular DVD.
I know
for years.
When you said 4 of these were, I was like, I don't think so. I think it's only 2, but okay. These are. I'm talking about in the Criterion.
No, you're right.
In the
It's not a
Criterion
re-release.
collection, there's only 2 that.
Yes, this isn't a re-release. This is an upgrade re-release.
It's an upgrade in general, but in the Criterion collection, it's new.
It's new, but I guess while I'm here, I might as well go.
Yeah, I guess so now. Jeez.
I guess so. Well, it is Raoul Walsh's first induction into the Criterion collection, which kind of was a big old shock to me because Raoul Walsh's work has been around for forever. He did so much work. Of course, he's one of those directors who I always remember has an eye patch. There's always a few who have an eye patch. John Ford had an eye patch. Raoul Walsh had an eye patch. Fritz Lang had an eye patch. what's his name? I think Fuller ended up having an eye patch at one point as well. I don't know, just all these eye patch directors. There's always probably a cool story that goes to it, or maybe not. But of course, Raoul Walsh did many, many movies. He did Roaring Twenties, White Heat, Thief of Baghdad. He did so much more movies. He has 140 directing credits to his name.
Isn't Thief of Baghdad in the collection already? I'm pretty sure.
Hold on, let me think.
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Right. I think you just killed my whole.
I killed your whole thing of him not being in the collection at all. I know.
Although I click on his name, on Criterion.com, and all it has is High Sierra.
Oh no, I just pulled it up. He did the 1924 silent Thief of Baghdad.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay, so
there's 2 Thief of Bagdads. Safe.
I saved you.
Safe?
You almost got you.
Oh, I was on a roll too. I almost had my legs taken out from under me. But yeah, this is a film noir. Came out in 1941, starring Humphrey Bogart and Ida Lupino. And Humphrey Bogart, I think, still at this time was still playing like heavies or tough guys.
Yeah.
This was right before Casablanca. I think it was the year before Casablanca, actually. And this is a brand new title. This is Spy number 1099. So it is getting a new restored 4K digital transfer with uncompressed monaural soundtrack on the Blu-ray. Colorado Territory, director Raoul Walsh's 1949 Western remake of High Sierra.
Oh, interesting.
A new conversation on Walsh between film programmer Dave Kerr and Craig Farron Smith. I never get her last name right, and I hate myself for it. Neem? Oh, rough. The True Adventures of Raoul Walsh, a 2019 documentary by Marilyn Ann Moss. Curtains for Roy Earl, a 2003 featurette on the making of High Sierra. Bogart, Here's Looking at You, Kid, a 1997 documentary aired on the South Bank Show. A new interview with film and media historian Miriam J. Petty about actor Willie Best. A new video essay featuring excerpts from a 1976 American Film Institute interview with High Sierra novelist and co-screenwriter W.R. Burnett. A radio adaptation of High Sierra from 1944. Trailers, English subtitles for the deaf and hard of hearing, plus an essay by critic Imogen Sarah Smith. A new cover illustration by Jennifer Dionisio. Hopefully I got that right. And it is indeed new cover art here.
No, it is.
And I like it.
It is.
Yeah, I really like the cover art. I'll be honest with you, though. I didn't get to finish watching this movie, unfortunately. I watched maybe about half of it. First of all, Ida Lupino is really good in this movie. I really enjoyed watching her, and but I would say this is kind of loosely a noir. Personally, I didn't feel as, maybe it's just because of the locations.
You gotta get to the end.
I guess maybe I'm missing something.
It's a gritty. I mean, the description here. It's a gritty gangsters film, which kind of and romantic fatalism.
Because I guess the half I watched was most of the romance stuff.
Yeah, you got to get to the second half, which is the grittiness.
Okay, but I really liked Ida Lupino in this. There's something about her acting, like her eyes, like she's like got like the eye. Some actors I don't think sometimes really use their eyes well, but she's just. I was like watching her, I was like, I believe her. I had the problem with like Zac Efron. Like Zac Efron's trying to be like a serious actor, but like in his eyes, he doesn't convince me. He keeps trying, but I can't say for sure whether I like this movie or not until I finish it. But I know you like the movie, Andrew. So
yeah, I really do like it a lot, and I think the first time I heard about this movie may have been through Martin Scorsese's. It's Journey Through American Cinema or something like that, with a multi-part documentary from the 90s, I think, which is kind of available on DVD, but maybe not. I'm not sure. But he talked about this movie. He spoiled the ending of the movie as well. So this movie was spoiled for me long before.
Damn it, Martin.
That's the thing with movie-related documentaries. They always end up spoiling stuff for you.
They just assume you've seen the movie, I guess.
They just assume you've seen the movie. Apparently, they assume you've seen all movies, I guess. But I really do like this movie a lot. Ida Lupino, gigantic fan of as both an actress as well as a director. Get that Kino Lupino box set if you can.
Yeah.
Because it's basically the bulk of her directorial filmographies in there, and it's just a really great tour through her work.
The other thing I really like about the release, I mean, it does have a lot of special features, which I like. I like the Colorado Territory, that like the remake he made that was a Western. I think we should think about doing an episode about directors that have remade their own movies. Would be really cool, because things like 39 Steps and North by Northwest, and like things like that, like it seemed like at this time period, a lot of directors decide later on in their careers to remake something they've done because maybe they have a bigger budget, or like they just have decided to reinterpret it, or like I think that would be interesting to look into, because you don't see that as much now.
Yeah, and also that information kind of gets lost over time. Like you just said, how many people know that North by Northwest is a remake of the 39 Steps?
Yeah.
I mean, they don't have the same title. They're both vastly different in popularity, and how many people have actually how much it's one film's been available to watch versus the other one.
Yeah.
It's not like it.
It would be like if
like,
Christopher Nolan decided one day to remake The Following, like and did it, like it would be interesting to talk about directors that have remade their own movies.
Yeah, it's not like The Man Who Knew Too Much, which has the same title for both.
Yeah, but anything to add, Scott?
Only that Jen has done some great artwork for other Arrow releases, and sort of one of those artists whose work I can recognize from a mile away.
Yeah. It's fantastic, yeah.
Yeah, what I am noticing a lot more when it comes to original artwork, specifically here on Criterion, is they do tell you who does the artwork, which is really nice. Even if it's a little like subscript at the bottom, they are telling you, and a lot of people, the names keep popping up over and over again, so you're getting more and more familiar with their style, their name.
Yeah, the more we do this show, the more we read all these things off, the more we're like, oh yeah, I know them now. I remember them.
I know that person, this person, because they keep showing up over and over again.
Well,
it's like repetition. That's how you learn things.
Same with a lot of the film historians, like Imogen Sarah Smith, and it's like, it's like the usual suspects.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah,
not a complaint, just an observation.
I keep it. We've heard your name on Arrow a lot lately, so it's like we keep hearing you. And I was just, I just started kind of looking at some of Sister Hyde's stuff, and her stuff has been popping up a lot lately.
Yeah, she's a good friend of mine, and only lives about a half hour away from me.
Oh, that's cool, awesome. Well, maybe we'll have to try to get her on one day. But great. So, what's our next one?
Now, do you want me to keep going in order? You want me to go to?
Well, you've already messed up the order, so no, I'm just kidding. You go in whichever order you want.
This plan's already in the trash. Well, like most things, we could just fly by the seat of our pants.
Yeah.
I like the Indiana Jones method in life. I just make things up as I go along.
Go for it.
So you might as well go with The Incredible Shrinking Man.
All right.
Which is a movie I actually hadn't seen until it popped up here. And it's one of those atomic age sci-fi films. And I love atomic age sci-fi films, so I'm glad I got to watch it before the show. This film came out in 1957. It is spy number 1100. Remember we were talking
wait a
about
second.
What's going to be...
It's not Citizen Kane?
No, it's not Citizen Kane. It's not a re-release of Grand Illusion. It's not anything truly... it's not in the AFI Top 100, I guess. I honestly don't know if Incredible Shrinking Man is or isn't. But yeah, it's not Casablanca. It's not anything that people keep talking about over and over again incessantly. It's The Incredible Shrinking Man. And I remember I was talking about what's going to be spy number 1100. Well, we got it. And yeah, this is a really cool movie done with special effects in an era that you wouldn't think those special effects would work or would hold up in any way, but they kind of really do. They really do from a certain perspective. Basically, what happens is this man gets exposed to some type of chemical gas type mist thing combined with something else, I think, and he starts slowly shrinking over time. Yeah. And what you just see is his both, physical degradation, obviously, as well as his mental degradation kind of goes down as well, just because of the stress of having to deal with the situation. And he becomes, very angry, very frustrated, He even is contemplating, I think, suicide at one point. It's a really significantly dark film for the era in which it came out, and I really like it. And I love how short it is. I love that this movie is only 81 minutes long, no pun intended, and it says all it needs to say in 81 minutes, and it's really great. It's really great.
I like the minimalistic of the artwork too.
Yes,
I love how each you go down the name and he gets smaller and smaller. I love that. Scott, what do you think of the artwork?
I love it. I'm a huge fan of Adam Maida. I think he recently became an art director at The Atlantic. But if you go to his website, adammaida.com, I don't know him. I'm just promoting him.
Yeah.
He's worked on a lot of Criterion's political releases. The Parallax View and Failsafe and Manchurian Candidate, all of which I would have loved to work on. But he also does a lot of editorial work where sort of the Criterion artwork, you're distilling a big story down to just one iconic image, and he's the man. And I'm sure I'll be emailing him at some point soon asking for, need anything for The Atlantic? But the other thing I noticed about this release is they did a new audio commentary, and lately it seems like they really haven't. So it's nice to see Criterion do a new one.
That is really nice. Also, Jack Arnold not only directed the incredible Shrinking Man, but I think he directed Creature from the Black Lagoon. Talk about an iconic horror film.
Yeah.
And he directed The Revenge of the Creature, which is the sequel as well. But he also directed This Island Earth, or has an uncredited, credit on This Island Earth, which is, of course, an iconic movie in so many ways for being so bad. But it's also, I remember watching it on Mystery Science Theater 3000. That's the movie they lampooned, or they watched for their quote unquote Mystery Science Theater movie. And This Island Earth has gotten both a Blu-ray release in both, for the Mystery Science Theater version, as well as its own release as well. Very interesting. And he also directed a lot of television series, too. Chief among them being Gilligan's Island, of all things.
Oh, jeez.
26 episodes. What do you know?
Well,
this small world.
This movie sounds like it probably had a good influence on Cronenberg. Maybe for The Fly,
so. Even I know Creature from the Black Lagoon had a significant influence on Guillermo del Toro.
Yeah.
Just to talk to someone who delves into that physical, horror genre, if you will. But in terms of special features, we have a new 4K digital restoration with uncompressed monaural soundtrack on the Blu-ray, a new audio commentary featuring genre film historian Tom Weaver and horror music expert David Schechter, a new program on the film's special effects by experts Craig Barron and Ben Burt. Really curious to see what they have to say about that. I want to know how this was done. And a new conversation between filmmaker Joe Dante and comedian and writer Dana Gould. Very interesting. Author on Campus, Jack Arnold at Universal. Just says Director's Cut 2021. Interview from 2016 with Richard Christian Matheson, and a novelist and screenwriter Richard Matheson's son. And it just says interview with director Jack Arnold from 1983, 8mm home cinema version from 1969, trailer and teaser narrated by filmmaker Orson Welles. Oh, now they got me. They just got me.
I knew when you read that you were going to be like, well, that's it. I'm buying it. Orson Welles.
This is the thing about not reading all of this before the show starts, is you get surprises like this. I just want that. Just clip that out for me. Plus an essay by critic Jeffrey O'Brien, and the new cover by Adam Maida.
Awesome.
Very nice.
I'm getting it.
I take it.
Moving on.
So, moving on now to another finally upgrade,
finally.
because this has been on DVD from the Criterion Collection for, I don't know, 20 years? A long time. A long time.
Is it that long?
I'd have to look it up.
20 years is about the anniversary of the movie, so I don't think it's quite that long. But
I can tell you, I think right here, Ratcatcher on DVD from Criterion came out September 10th, 2002.
Okay, so you're right, almost 20 years.
That's pretty close. Oh man, this brain keeps working sometimes. But this is Ratcatcher by Lynn Ramsey. Lynn Ramsey, who I think is one of my favorite directors working today, just an astounding director who's done several films recently that really have popped into the consciousness of people. One being, of course, the not only We Need to Talk About Kevin, but You Were Never Really Here, the film with Joaquin Phoenix, which I think he probably should have won an Oscar for that instead of Joker, but that's neither here nor there. She also directed, of course, Morven Collar, which is another film I really like. But Ratcatcher is the one that has been long sought after because it was tough to watch, just to watch it in general. Like whether it's streaming, whether to get the DVD's been long out of print. You can buy it for $100 if you want to, or you can just buy this new Blu-ray that's coming out. And this film it's tough to really explain the genius behind this movie, because Steven, I know you've seen it as well as I have. It takes place in Glasgow. It centers around the garbage strike of the mid-1970s, but it's just all about this kid and just not really quite coming of age, but kind of just living, if you will, just living in the time he's living in and growing up within that time, having to deal with,
you could say it's somewhat of a coming of age. I mean, like a 400 Blows.
Very much in that vein of 400 Blows.
Yeah, where it's about a kid trying to grow up in like the worst of times, trying to find the smallest of like pleasures in the worst of times kind of thing. But the
cinematography is just gorgeous in the movie. You get wonderful look at just the piles of garbage that these people live in, and then you get gorgeous.
Yeah, the wonderful images of piles of garbage. Yes.
Yeah, but just that aesthetic of like these people are literally living in garbage. Yeah. You know what I mean? It has a very Ken Loach vibe to it. The idea of everyday working class people, or even lower than working class people, in that regard, and it's really good film. But finally, we've got it on Blu-ray. Can't wait to get it. On the Blu-ray, there's a new 4K digital restoration supervised by director Lynn Ramsey and cinematographer Alwyn Kukler, with 2.0 surround DTS HD mastered audio soundtrack. On the DVD, there is digital transfer enhanced for 16:9 televisions, and that's a holdover from the old DVD. New interview with Ramsey, Blu-ray only. Audio interview from 2020 with Kukler on the Blu-ray only. 3 award-winning short films by Ramsey: Small Deaths, Killed the Day, and The Gas Man, coming out sequentially in 95, 96, and 97. That's kind of cool. I love when they put the short films, because you never get to see these directors' short films in any other way. Interview with Ramsey from 2002. Stills Gallery, which is DVD only. Trailer, which is Blu-ray only. Poor DVD people can't get the trailer. English subtitles for the deaf and hard of hearing, plus essays by film critic Girish Shambu, filmmaker Barry Jenkins. That's a big one. And that's for the Blu-ray only release. And then cover is based on the theatrical poster. And it's the same cover they used for the DVD pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, it's it kind of, I think, encapsulates the movie, just the sheer dirtiness and you can see the strife he's going just in his eyes, just like.
I just love how Ratcatcher really has nothing to do quite with the movie. It's just kind of a metaphor.
Yeah.
It's one of those movies where kind of like Moonlight, where it's a metaphor. The movie's not about moonlight, it's a metaphor. It's speaking of Barry Jenkins.
Yeah. Anything to add, Scott?
This is one of those. I haven't seen the film. I remember seeing the DVD on display when I was at film school. We used to go to this video store in Orlando called Stardust.
Yeah.
I don't think it's there anymore. If it is, it's been turned into like a hipster coffee bar or something. But for whatever reason, I found the cover compelling. Just, I guess not enough to rent it. I don't know. But it's also one of those where I'm wondering if it's the filmmaker's preference to use the original poster versus Criterion commissioning new art. It's certainly a wonderfully evocative poster. Would it be cool to see an artist's interpretation? Sure, but
yeah.
It still says
I'm always
so much
down for I'm always down for outside perspectives on something like this. But yeah, either way, it still looks great. And really just the movie having the movie in a upgraded form is what I'm looking for. So awesome. What's our next release, Andrew?
And next we go to a more modern film, and that is Uncut Gems by the Safdie brothers, Josh and Benny Safdie, who have been in the Criterion closet as well.
Oh man, theirs is kind of iconic. They're
is there?
Well, it's because they went in and like stole the whole closet, if I remember correctly.
They did grab a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
But they also did interviews for the Criterion channel as well. Or maybe it was a holdover from Filmstruck. I can't quite remember.
They are
because a lot of the Filmstruck stuff kind of transferred over.
I believe they're on the Scorsese short set.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
there you
they
go.
are. Yes, they
yeah.
are. They have interviews for that, talking about talking about the short. Italian American, I think, is the main short on there, where he interviews his parents, like back in the 70s, and it's just like his mom's like making like food and stuff, and talking to his dad. Great, I really like that.
Well, they're definitely directors inspired by Scorsese a lot. Like their style is very in your face, raw. You know.
I mean, both Uncut Gems and Good Time are set in New York.
Yeah, well,
at least
of
an
course,
urban
the New
setting.
York, yeah.
But yeah, Uncut Gems. Steven, if you have anxiety problems, would you recommend this movie to someone? Because I know I wouldn't.
Probably if you want to face your fears,
Yeah.
But not if you actually can't deal with it. Yeah, it's pretty rough.
If you want to have an anxiety attack while watching a movie, you watch Uncut Gems, and that's what it'll do to you. This movie stars the one and only Adam Sandler, who's done everything from Punch Drunk Love to his own quirky comedies.
What's the one where he plays his own twin that everybody loves?
Oh, Jack and Jill.
People want that Jack and Jill Criterion. I know they keep asking for it.
That film also co-stars the Oscar winner. What's his name again? Al Pacino as well. That's where I think that's the movie where the famous Dunkachino commercial comes from.
Yes.
Delicious. But this is Uncut Gems starring Adam Sandler, and this movie he runs a jewelry store, he's a New York jeweler, and he's also a compulsive gambler who loves to self-destruct. He's got a mission to self-destruction.
He loves the pressure. Yeah.
He loves the pressure. I think I did a review for this movie on my YouTube channel when it came out. Can't quite remember. But this has already had a regular Blu-ray release that you can go out and buy right now. Coincidentally, it looks like they're using the same cover art for both of them, which is interesting. But he plays Howard Ratner, and he's just making bets and gambles left and right. He's losing money. He's winning money. He doesn't know when to quit. He can't quit. He's got a family as well, but he also has what do we call that, Stephen? Like a mistress?
Yeah, mistress.
Who also works for him as well. He's living a kind of a hustler's life, if you will, and his wife is played by Idina Menzel, who everybody probably knows from Frozen,
and also from her name being
John
messed
Travolta.
up by John Travolta.
Yes, and but he has this whole idea of this uncut gemstone from. Isn't it Africa? It's just this giant stone that's just a giant diamond stone that's.
Well, he gets it. Doesn't he get it from Kevin Garnett?
No, he gets it, and Kevin Garnett wants it.
He wants to buy
it.
Yes.
But he lets Kevin Garnett borrow it if he can have. But Kevin Garnett uses collateral to borrow it, kind of like a pawn shop, if you will.
Sure. Yeah.
And he uses, I think, like his championship ring from the Boston Celtics. And this movie takes place, I want to say, 2012. I believe it's 2012 because it's during the NBA playoffs of that time, which of course I would have been watching. This movie came out 2 years ago, so it's not, it wasn't made back then. It's made now. But he lets Kevin Garnett have this gigantic gemstone, but the whole idea is that he wants it back because he wants to sell it, and it for a huge payday.
Yeah,
a huge payday. He thinks it's going to get so much money. And part of the movie is him trying to get that back, but he also owes people money. They're hassling him. They're beating him up. They're breaking fingers. They're doing stuff that the reasons why you shouldn't get in bed with loan sharks and people of that ilk.
Yeah.
So it's him just in an adrenaline-filled nightmare of a life that we're watching on screen.
The thing that gets you the most about it is just him continuing to fall further and further down the rabbit hole. Like he keeps making it worse and worse when he has times to make it better.
Yeah, it just shows you just the internal self-destruction that he probably has that he's not even aware of.
It makes me think like I'm going to be like him with my movie buying. If I keep buying movies like I do, that I'll be like this, and I'll get beat up by loan sharks, and where's that Gamera collection that you said you were going to get me? Oh, it beats me up, But Scott, I was going to say Scott's seen the movie. This is the one he's
Scott's seen the movie, so this is one that he can comment on.
Yeah, finally. It's definitely one of those what I call when is the other shoe going to drop movies.
Yeah.
Yes.
I genuinely enjoyed it. And, you haven't read... I have a thought about one of the extras, but you haven't read them yet. But yeah, I genuinely enjoyed the movie. I don't know if it's something I need to see again soon, but it's very good, and it's great to see Sandler flexing his muscles. Punch Drunk Love I need to see again. It's been too long, but I'm glad it's part of the collection, and I'm glad to see Criterion and Netflix continuing their relationship.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I actually...
this wasn't Netflix.
It's A24.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think it may be the first...
Yeah, that's the one thing people were kind of like talking about now is that A24... This like the sign of more A24 films coming to the collection, whether it be like a Moonlight or
I can
maybe
see
we'll
that.
see some Roger Eggers films like The Witch or Lighthouse.
Lighthouse would be cool.
Yeah, I don't know why I thought Netflix for some reason, but
they've had a lot.
I think once it
Beast of
dropped
the No Nation came out.
Yep.
So that's
Oh yes.
But
I think once it dropped on Netflix, people became more aware of it.
Yeah.
And I think that's the connection right there. That's kind of the modern world we live in. Once it drops on Netflix, people are like, "Why did nobody tell me about this?" And I'm like, "We've been telling you.
I saw it on
went to see
Netflix.
it."
Yeah.
It's like I've been telling you. But getting into the special features here, there's a 4K digital transfer with Dolby Atmos soundtrack on the Blu-ray. I'm assuming it's the same transfer that we just got from the Blu-ray that's out now. I don't think it's new. Audio commentary from 2019 featuring writer-directors Josh Safdie and Benny Safdie, writer and editor Ronald Bronstein, and producer Sebastian Bear McLeod. A new interview with cinematographer Darius Kanji, a costume designer Miyako Belize, and casting director Jennifer Venditti. Documentaries from 2019 and 2020 on the making of the film and soundtrack. That's one thing that's really interesting is the soundtrack for these movies really drive that anxiety as well.
Yeah.
They really get you. They put you in that mood. They put you in that feeling of that you're right in the Adam Sandler character's shoes. And Josh and Benny Safdie direct the hell out of their movies. They really do. And next we have a screen test featuring actors Adam Sandler and Julia Fox. Goldman v. Silverman, a 2020 short film by the Safdies featuring Sandler and Benny Safdie. A Question and Answer, a 2020 short film featuring the Safdies, Sandler, actor Jason Bateman, and comedy writer Megan Amram. Deleted and extended scenes, including a full performance of The Morning by The Weeknd. Yes, The Weeknd makes a cameo in this film.
Oh, okay.
In one scene. When they're at the nightclub and Julia Fox's character is hanging out with The Weeknd and he gets all jealous and storms out.
Yeah.
That Weeknd's in that scene. Trailer, English subtitles for the deaf and hard of hearing, plus an essay by film critic Jay Hoberman, and for the Blu-ray, a 2020 discussion of the film by editorial staff of Jewish Currents magazine. Yes, because Adam Sandler's character, as well as Adam Sandler in real life, is Jewish. And the cover photography by Inez and Vinud.
Awesome.
And yes.
So, Scott, you said you had a comment on one of the...
Oh, just features? I'm Jewish, not very observant, but I'm always interested in, whenever they add something where, we'll look at the film from a Jewish perspective. So I'd be interested in reading that essay. I know when Arrow did their release of An American Werewolf in London, I haven't seen it since I bought it, but one of the featurettes was a look at the film's Jewish themes. Okay. And on one hand, you might think, werewolf movie, Jewish themes, but this guy saw something there, and so that's always interesting to see for me.
Yeah, that's a very interesting perspective, not only for our modern contemporary times and all of the horrible things that are going on right now, but just because there are very moments where you do see Adam Sandler's character's family, and when you get their background. Isn't his father portrayed by Judd Hirsch in the film? I believe as well, if memory serves. But also for people who are wondering what the difference is between the Blu-ray release that currently exists and this upcoming one, the original Blu-ray release only has one special feature, and that's called Money on the Street, The Making of Uncut Gems, which runs 30 minutes and 30 seconds. So this obviously has so much more to offer than that one does. And just going back to what I was just saying, who else is in it? Yeah, I couldn't tell. I thought Judd Hirsch was in the movie. Maybe I was wrong. Because when you go up to IMDb, they only give you top cast.
Yeah.
And not everybody.
Oh, no, he is. Yeah.
Oh, yes, he is. And isn't Elliot Gould plays his brother-in-law or something, and he's one of the people who works for the Loan Sharks?
Yeah, he is.
Serves. So there's a whole Jewish kind of connection there as well. Very interesting. So moving on from Uncut Gems, we move on to our final one, and I think, Stephen, we saved a personal favorite for last, serendipitously, and this is Devi by the great Satyajit Ray, who we've talked about so many times.
Every chance I get. Not only on Chasing Labels, but in the previous incarnation, in the Cinema Discovery Project, where we literally did a whole episode on The Big City, one of his great film releases, and this is another one that finally we get a new release. Yeah, we haven't gotten a Ray release, I think, in almost 3 years, maybe a little bit more than that.
Yeah, I think the last one was The Hero.
Yeah.
Which, yeah, it's been far too long. 2018, February 20th.
Yeah, so over 3 years. Yeah, it's...
Oh, man. 2018 feels like 5 years ago at this point. But, Steven, do you remember this film, right?
Yes.
Because I know this is the one where we get the same actors who we've seen before, I believe.
Well, this is the film he did right after the Apu trilogy.
Yes.
And so the Devi also, translated as the goddess. It's about this father who kind of turns her daughter into a goddess. She starts to get praised as kind of in a cult-like way. It's a father. Yeah, it's the IMDb synopsis is: a young woman is deemed a goddess when her father-in-law, a rich feudal landlord, has a dream envisioning her as an avatar of Kali, one of their religion's gods. Yeah.
And I just wanted to see. Yes, it is the same actress who was in The Big City. Yes, I believe. Yeah, she's in The World of Apu.
So she's in she's the one that plays the woman he marries that dies, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, spoiler alert.
Oh, sorry. Damn it, I just ruined the third movie.
I know the movie did come out
back in the 50s.
70 years ago.
Yeah. Sorry.
No, maybe not 70. I hate how when you type in The Big on IMDb, you get The Big Bang Theory and not The Big City. Crimes Against Cinema. No, it's a different actress.
Okay.
It's a different actress. Yeah.
Well,
the one in The Big City is Madhabi Mukherjee, and the one in Devi is a different actress.
Okay. But
I just wanted to make sure, just so we could kind of connect it there. But Devi is a great film.
Yeah, great. It's like I said, the one he did after his Big Apu trilogy, and it's just a movie that just delves into people's fascination with idolizing things. And how they lean on that to get through their days, and cult-like statuses and things. It's a very interesting film, a lot more of a smaller scale movie than his previous movies, and I just always they just need to. Hopefully, this is the sign of more of his films getting released because it's been so long. So hopefully, maybe they've done a lot of restorations in that meantime, and that means we're just going to continue to get some Ray films. But
yeah,
and the one cool thing is the artwork is actually illustration by Satyajit Ray. So they just, I think, maybe did a little bit of touch up on it. because like the artwork is like one half of the face is like a little bit more animated looking, and then the other half
one is blue.
Yeah, well, one is blue and one is like more of a photography or I guess artwork. So yeah, I mean it's beautiful. Anything to say about the artwork, Scott?
I like it very much. Indian cinema is definitely a gap in my movie experience, but I enjoy the artwork, the colors. I'm in.
Yeah, it's. I'm telling you, it wasn't something I was very familiar with either. But when I'm telling you, check out the Apu trilogy. I mean, have you ever seen like Boyhood from Linklater or? Mm-hmm. Yeah, like if you think about like that movie,
okay,
but over 3 movies, it's kind of, you could say it kind of lines up with that, where it's about following one person and through their whole life and how they go through different things in different stages, and it's really good. So if you like Boyhood, then something like the Apu trilogy might really line up with you. But you want to go into the features?
Sure. Yeah, so we are getting a new 4K digital restoration with uncompressed Monroe soundtrack on the Blu-ray, and thank goodness, because the quality of the release that I watched was not great. So it needed a lot of these old Rye films need full restorations, remasters. They need work. They need work to get them looking good, to get them looking the way they should be looking. And next up here is a new program featuring interviews with actors Shamila Tagore, who plays the actress in this film. I got her confused with the other actress from The Big City, and then Charlotte as well. Shamila Tagore, and then Sumitra Chatterjee, who of course was in several Rye films. I keep saying Ray and Rye.
We
it's the
keep
same person.
saying it, yeah.
I'm trying to say Rye more because that's the way it's supposed to be pronounced.
Yeah.
But I've been saying Ray for so long that they keep fighting it out. They keep fighting it out in my brain.
I'm doing it too, man.
But Sumitra Chatterjee was, of course, in the second and third Apu trilogy films. He plays the adult Apu, and he was in a few other films as well for Satyajit Ray. But next we have, so this is a new program featuring interviews with both Shamila Tagore and Sumitra Chatterjee, recorded in 2013. New video essay by film scholar Mahali Sen, and new English subtitle translation plus an essay by film critic Devika Girish, and then cover based on the illustration by Satyajit Ray. Like you said, not much in the way of special features, but we get new stuff.
I don't care. I want the movie.
I honestly don't give it.
I mean, I do care, but I really want the movie more than anything. Yeah.
I just want the movie more than anything in the world. I really like that they're incorporating his original artwork for the cover, like we've covered. So that is it, and this is spine number 1102, and Uncut Gems was 1103. So the next milestone, I guess, would be 1298 more releases.
I know if you get to if it gets to 150, that's going to be the next one because it's a round number. Who knows? Everybody puts so much emphasis on the numbers.
Or what about 1111? 11,101.
That's going to be important.
11,111.
It's going to be important to somebody.
Yeah. Somebody's gonna.
Yeah.
Some superstitious person is gonna be like, "Oh, told you."
Yeah. All right.
But that's it for Criterion.
That's it for our episode. Scott, thanks for joining us, man.
Oh, anytime. Great to be here.
Appreciate you sharing, some of your personal history and some of your work with us. We are excited about anything else you got coming up, and we'd love to have you back.
Well, thanks. I guess you would have covered these already, but Arrow's most recent announcement, I put everything I have into every release, but for some reason the Cold War Creatures set, I obsessed over that. Between the new artwork.
We talked about that, I think 2 episodes ago maybe, and we're excited about that one.
And it's my favorite. It's 2 booklets, but they're, the main booklet with the essays is probably my favorite booklet that I've done. It might sound silly, but a lot goes into it and restoring the photos and so on. Yeah. And I can't wait for people to see it.
I love your site where it shows the comparisons of what you clean up and everything.
Well, a few folks online, I've gotten better with it. A few folks online have said I use it I sort of bump up the contrast and the colors a little too much in my photos or if the colors are faded.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. But
well, I mean, look, I think the photos, it doesn't bother me as much.
Yeah.
Like, I think the film presentation, if they were like doing too much in the film presentation, that would bother me. But the photos, it's though it is a photograph of the image, I think if you manipulate that more, it doesn't bother me.
And when I do that, and again, it depends on, I mean, it's amazing a lot of this stuff still exists, but my obligation is to make the best looking book that I can. I'm not necessarily trying to replicate what the movie looks like, if that makes sense.
Yes. No, I agree. I agree with you. Yeah. But great. Thank you for coming on, Scott.
Sure.
Tell us where everybody can find you.
ScottSaslow.com, ScottSaslow, and you could find my social media links there as well. But I'm on Twitter at Saslow_Scott and Instagram at Scott Saslow. And anyone has any questions or if anyone knows someone who's doing a film and needs a poster, hit me up anytime.
Definitely. I'm a film guy. I try to. I might have to, talk to you because I do some projects of my own. So I might have to talk to you later about that. Yeah. But awesome. Andrew, where can we find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Kebzilla06, as well as my YouTube channel, Kebzilla Productions.
And you can find me on Facebook, Stephen Billings. You can also find me at the Chasing Labels stuff, whether it's on Instagram at Chasing Labels or I've been running the Twitter best I can. So I don't use it a lot, but I've been able to make some good contacts on there. So you can find Chasing Labels at Chasing Labels on there. You can find me also on Letterboxd at Chasing Labels. And then you can find the audio for this podcast on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, all the major players. And that's it for this episode. Thanks once again for listening. And hey, keep on watching them movies.
I know I will.
Me too.